Returns are one of the most valuable currencies in all of pro wrestling. WWE do a lot of them, and the sheer volume available to the company in 2022 is massive. So, for the purpose of not being boring, we will not be looking at injured wrestlers today because, well, of course they're coming back. Similarly, I won't be talking about people like Elias who've just kinda disappeared weirdly either. But with that in mind, I'm Andy from What Culture, and here are 10 big WWE returns that could happen in 2022. Number 10. CJ Parker. Now known as Juice Robinson, this lad has flourished since leaving WWE a few years ago. His biggest highlight as CJ Parker was playing squash fodder for a debuting Kevin Owens. Since then, he has enjoyed a run as one of New Japan's most popular foreign babyfaces, winning the IWGP US title on 2 occasions. But in recent years, he has fallen off a little bit as far as momentum goes, and the time might be right for a change. Robinson's New Japan contract expires in late January. He could well leave the company, and he will not be short of suitors if he does. Now, if he does choose to return to WWE, he will do so as a better wrestler than he was as CJ Parker, and a bigger name too. So hopefully, he'll be booked as more than just an Eco Warrior jobber. Number 9. X-Pac. Sean Waltman has spent much of 2022 eyeing a comeback. In April, he told Sports Illustrated that he didn't leave wrestling on his own terms, teasing a Royal Rumble appearance and saying that he was targeting January for a comeback. If and when he comes back to the sport, he would like WWE to host him. And given that he is now a 2-time Hall of Famer in that company and very much in their good graces, it's very unlikely that they'd turn him down. If WWE think they can find a nostalgic comeback spot for X-Pac, they'll probably do it. And having previously said he would only ever unretire for special occasions, maybe a one-off in the Rumble might make sense. Number 8. Tyson Fury. Look, Tyson Fury's one WWE match to date wasn't great. In fact, it was complete pish. But he was a big name for Crown Jewel 2019. The Saudi Arabian crowd loves major stars. And on top of this, he earned a reported $15 million payday for it as well. If there's a bag like that in play again, there's no chance in hell that Fury won't be interested in coming back. Tyson remains in touch with Vince McMahon, and his wife Paris has previously said that she thinks returning to WWE is inevitable. This, and the fact that Fury and Drew McIntyre have been taking shots at each other for what feels like 3 years now, adds even more fuel to the fire. So, expect to see him in Riyadh, I guess. Number 7. The Undertaker. Undertaker retired at Survivor Series 2020, where he was given a big song and dance ceremony, complete with a Paul Bearer hologram. It was about the best WWE could do in the empty arena, to be quite fair, but there's no such thing as a true retirement in pro wrestling, as we well know. Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and everyone else. No wrestler who is able to get doctor's clearance can ever be ruled out of a return. So, while The Undertaker has stayed true to his word so far, the constant rumblings coming out of his camp, plus the fact that he said goodbye in the bloody Thunderdome, not in front of a real crowd, suggest that, yeah, he's probably going to show up at some point. Maybe it'll be in a cinematic match, the Boneyard Part 2 perhaps, or maybe in an ill-advised actual match, I don't know. But with audiences back, he might fancy a proper goodbye, a proper retirement, you know, until the next one. Number 6. Braun Strowman. That Strowman was on a reported 7-figure salary before being released due to budget cuts in June 2021 might lead cynical minds to think that maybe this was WWE's way of cutting the salary before bringing back somebody they clearly like on a lower deal. Look, that's a total conspiracy theory, but WWE is a cynical organization, so it isn't completely crackpot. Nonetheless, it's difficult to see just where Strowman fits elsewhere in wrestling. He'll be doing the Free the Narrative stuff with EC3, sure, but as far as a full-time gig goes, he'd be an odd fit in AEW and perhaps too expensive for Impact. His natural home is WWE, and if he stays in wrestling, a 2022 comeback might just be on the cards. Number 5. John Cena. It's pretty easy, this one. Cena's 2021 return was an objective business success, moving tickets and prompting a few nice TV ratings along the way. The SummerSlam feud with Roman Reigns was very well received on top of that, so yeah, if WWE can bring him back in 2022, they'll probably just do the same thing again. And who cares? It was good. Number 4. TRISH STRATUS. It sounds very much like Trish wants to wrestle again. In November 2021, she called the idea appealing, and 1 month before that, Sasha Banks actually accused Stratus of ducking her. Trish responded in kind, and having previously claimed that she would go back to WWE for, in her words, something stimulating, challenging, and what the fans want, the stage is set for a rivalry that commenced through a face-off in the 2018 Royal Rumble. Trish and Sasha had instant chemistry the first time they were in the ring together. Their interactions were brief, sure, but tapping into that dynamic on TV would be a lot of fun, and Trish looked really good in her last match at SummerSlam 2019, so maybe just do the thing. It'd be good. It'd be awesome. Number 3. Bray Wyatt. I'm well aware that Wyndham Rotunda is currently off making horror movies, and more power to him. I hope he does a good job and makes a lot of money. But in WWE, Bray Wyatt was a proven moneymaker in the merch booth, who brought in more revenue than the promotion spent on him. So a return is totally plausible once any lingering ill will over his reported creative frustrations has eased off. Maybe this guy was a pain in Vince McMahon's ass and vice versa, but let's be honest, who hasn't been a pain in Vince McMahon's ass at some point in their career? Someday it'll all be water under a particularly fiendish bridge, and perhaps that day will come in 2022. Number 2. Ronda Rousey. This one is pretty variable because Rousey and husband Travis Browne have only just welcomed their first daughter into the world, and they did that in September. In the wrestling commentariat, there's a tendency to underestimate the impact that giving birth can have on a woman's body. Remember the clamour for Becky Lynch to return in the Royal Rumble 2021 despite giving birth just 8 weeks prior? It was mental. And the projections for such things are usually completely unrealistic. So it's hard to tell when exactly Rousey would be able to wrestle again, and besides, maybe she just wants to spend a little time with her family as well. This was always her priority, and it's bigger than fake fighting, so fair play. At best, Ronda has seemed indifferent to returning to wrestling since bowing out of WWE in April 2019, but her comments on WWE's, and I quote, ungrateful idiot fans could well be interpreted as a heat-building exercise for a heel run. That keeps the door open, and on top of this, Rousey has more name value than anyone WWE could feasibly bring back to its women's division in 2022, and on top of that, she still hasn't wrestled Becky Lynch one-on-one yet. Now that Nia Jax is gone, there's nobody to prevent that from happening, apart from Ronda and Becky themselves. So let's just make some money. Why not? And at number 1, The Rock. WWE wanted him for Survivor Series 2021. It didn't happen. WWE wanted him for WrestleMania 38. It's not gonna happen. In fact, I don't think there's a single month of the year when WWE don't want Dwayne Johnson, but the answer, in most cases, is it's not going to happen. The Rock is the biggest mainstream crossover star that wrestling has ever produced. He is guaranteed to raise interest whenever he shows up, and you know that if the circumstances align in 2022, Vince McMahon is going to smell the money and try to make it happen. Of course, the Roman Reigns match is the one everyone wants. This is WWE's white whale as far as booking goes. No money match of this caliber exists anywhere else in wrestling. While it isn't going to happen at WrestleMania 38, maybe, just maybe, The Rock shows up before the end of 2022, establishes the feud, and off we go, ready to build to WrestleMania 39. It's always a big ask, this one, but it seems destined to happen at some stage, and I reckon that after coming so close to making it work in 2021, 2022 might be the year we see the whole thing start, even if the match won't happen until we get to Hollywood. So that's our list, but what do you guys think? And can you think of any other potential WWE comebacks that could happen in 2022? Let us know in the comment section below. After that, you can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE and myself at Andy H. Murray, where you can tell me how wrong I am. Goodbye.